So,
Okay.
well, haven't been lately, obviously. But.
Yeah, right. Mallory, once you get started, I'll mute myself in my video, okay? So I won't be, unless I have something a question to ask or something, okay?
Perfect. That works for me.
Mallory, if I'm looking off in the distance, it's not because you lost me. It's because my monitors are about 100 miles down the end of the table now.
No worries. I'm kind of the same way. I'm trying to like move the videos so that it looks like I'm looking at the webcam, but and not on like my big monitor.
I got you.
Yeah. So I was telling Mallory that because we're going to get to record the presentation day, and you're going to take care of that, Mallory, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So because we're going to get to do that, this will be a video that we can then share with students. Our Career Services Office in Daytona has created a YouTube page, and we've been recording videos that we're sharing with students, and we're housing them there so that they can have access to it. So it's great that we'll have this, because as I continue to talk to students or recent graduates and they're wanting to find out about opportunities, I can refer.
But yeah, so everybody, thanks for joining me and Eric for the Assured Partners Internship and Career Opportunities presentation. We're really excited to share a little bit more about our company and expose you to some of the opportunities that are available to incoming emerging professionals. So Eric, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, and then I can, follow after you.
Sure. Yep. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And my name is Eric Barfield. Aviation insurance is the career that I've been in, and I joined the company in 1998. I graduated from Embry-Riddle at the Daytona Beach campus in 1992. And as we were just speaking about earlier, aviation insurance was the farthest thing from my mind, and 25 years later, here I sit, and it's actually a pretty good gig, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So I'm a licensed pilot and have been served in various capacities on some association boards and stuff like that, but I don't want to bore you with all those details. We're mainly here to talk to you about our company, our internship opportunities, and I'm going to share a little bit about our industry as well. So that's all you want to hear about me.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm Mallory Dieter. I'm the Program Director for College Engagement at AssuredPartners. I sit in the Raleigh, North Carolina office, but my main job is to oversee our internship program and also develop out relationships with emerging professionals. So I've been at AssuredPartners since 2015. I actually started as an intern myself and moved into this new role in 2019. So we're really excited to kind of see our internship and emerging professional program grow as we continue to put more resources around it. As we move forward through our presentation, we are going to open up for questions at the end of the presentation. If you have something that comes up in the meantime, definitely feel free to use the chat function, and we'll be monitoring that. But look forward to teaching you all a little bit more about AssuredPartners. Eric, if you want to go ahead and get started.
Okay, very good. So Mallory, I've got the screen?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah, no, I can.
Okay, perfect.
Can I manipulate it? That's another question. Again, good afternoon, everybody. Just real quick about AssuredPartners. So our company was founded in 2011 and grown very quickly in that time. Today, we are the 12th largest broker in the United States of all types of insurance, not just aviation insurance. Aviation is one piece of the puzzle for the greater AssuredPartners organization. We have about 6,500 to 7,000 employees today, scattered in about 125 plus offices from coast to coast. And I think we have a location, actually, we have a location in the UK as well. And the company continues to grow. Our chairman and CEO is a gentleman by the name of Jim Henderson. And if you've ever spent some time on the Daytona Beach campus like I have, when you go to the Welcome Center, you'll see the Jim Henderson Welcome Center. So that's actually a pretty nice tie-in for us. He's on the board of trustees at Embry-Riddle, and he thinks, or he thought, as he was building this big, large insurance company, that it would really be cool to have a very thriving, professional, sophisticated aviation insurance brokerage firm as part of that. And that's pretty much, that's who we are. So. In February, we were on the Daytona Beach campus. Dr. Butler was there, Lon Muller was there, and we held an industry roundtable. And we wanted to come together and talk about our industry, our profession. One of the things, it's no secret to anybody in business today, we're all kind of struggling with succession planning and developing that next generation of talent specific to our industry. So places like Riddle do a fantastic job of turning out qualified folks that can be a part of the professional careers that they might take. Our interest is trying to promote our career field more specifically, and so that's what a lot of that dialogue was about in February. One of the big overarching themes was, how do we make risk management and insurance not an accidental field like it was for me? So for me, when I graduated in 1992, I was a wannabe fighter pilot, and I had horrible eyesight, so that obviously didn't work out. A good buddy of mine was going to work in the aviation insurance field as an underwriter, and I remember vividly packing him up on the day we were moving out, and I told him, Blake, you're an idiot. Who in the world would go in the aviation insurance business? That's got to be the most boring thing ever known to man. See you later. And we obviously joked each other like that, and we're still in contact to this day. However, after about 12 to 13 months of floundering around trying to figure out who I wanted to be when I grew up, I picked up the phone and I called Blake and I said, hey man, tell me about this insurance gig because I need a steady paycheck. So for me and for a lot of my colleagues, we kind of fell into this profession, but at the end of the day, it's actually a really good, stable career, particularly in an environment like we're operating in today. It's a steady paycheck. It has tremendous growth and development opportunities. It's not that sexy, but when you actually get into it, we talk about airplanes all day long. We get to fly a little bit. Like I said, I'm a commercial pilot, flight instructor, and have about not much time, but have flown a variety of small aircraft. So when we came out of that meeting in February, one of the things that we talked about is risk is in everything that we do in aviation. No matter what discipline you end up with in aviation, risk is a big part of that. One of my colleagues said that Elon Musk doesn't build a rocket ship to go to the moon without figuring out some way to offload that risk, and there's got to be some people around to help him do that. And that's kind of what our profession is all about. So this webinar today and our internship opportunity is in part an outcome of that meeting. Today we are made up of 10 former private agencies. There's about 135 of us, as you see there, stretched out from coast to coast. Many of us are licensed pilots. We've got a lot of Riddle grads on our team. We have actually, I think, 5 Riddle grads on our team, if memory serves. We have some other grads from other aviation schools that happen to be a part of us. We decided we'd let them in the club too. And there are a lot of variety of us who have now professional designations as well. What we tell folks today in our business, it's a very small space, but a lot of these legacy agencies are names that people know from 20 and 30 years of building these brands. And what we tell people today is we're names that you know, people that you trust together as one. That's the power of partnership. So AssuredPartners has done a fantastic job of assimilating some of the best names in aviation insurance as a broker, putting them under one roof and one banner, and that's kind of who we are today. And just real quick to explain, as risk management and insurance brokers, we represent the people who own jets, who own aviation companies. We represent them to the underwriters, and we're basically their paid negotiator. So if you own a corporate jet, we would take your risk to an underwriter, and we would work with that underwriter to come up with an aviation insurance and risk management program that makes sense for you. That's what we do today at AssuredPartners Aerospace primarily. There you see, we're stretched out coast to coast. We have an office in Columbia, Frederick, Maryland, right next to AOPA. We have an office in Wichita. We're getting ready to open a brand new facility in Wichita. Dallas, Denver, a small office in Minneapolis. and also Phoenix and out there in Portland, Oregon. So there's, again, 135 of us, and we're kind of scattered around the country. Our leadership team is scattered around the country. I sit in South Carolina. Our president actually sits in Denver, Colorado, and our CEO sits in Dallas, Texas. But that's kind of how we roll these days, it seems. Oh, there you have it right there. Bill Beans, our Chief Executive Officer. John Downey, who's also the class of '89. He's a geezer. He's like, a lot older than me. John and I started in the aviation insurance business together, actually. When I took that first job in insurance, as an underwriter, like my buddy Blake, the person who trained me was John Downey. And so our career paths went this way. And now, after 25 years, they've come back together, and we're happy to serve on this leadership team together for AssuredPartners. And we got about 100 years worth of aviation experience and risk management between us all. So our company, we do, I mentioned our office in Frederick. We are the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. We are their partner, their strategic partner. We're their preferred vendor for aviation insurance. That office has about 37 people sitting in it, and it sits right next to the AOPA office, so we're their partner. We also partner with the National Air Transportation Association. So we're, as a company, well connected within the aviation industry, not just the insurance industry where we know all the underwriters. We also are very active participants in these trade associations who do great things for the industry. At one time, I was the chair of the safety committee for the National Business Aviation Association. Any of you are familiar with NBAA and the great work that they do. So we tell people that some of the bedrocks of why we think we're the best is because of some of the things that you see on this slide right here. And the biggest thing in my mind is integrity. You can say a lot and do a lot with me and my company, but when you question our integrity, those as we say in the South, those are fighting words. We do what we say what we do, and we're big on that. In this business, in insurance and risk management, doing what you say is a very, very big thing, and it's a core value of our company. Not all of our competitors share that core value, maybe, but it's something that we definitely is part of our DNA. So in the marketplace, we'll talk more about that. It's about a $1 billion marketplace. If you put all the aviation insurance premium together for general aviation in the United States into one pot, it'd be about $1 billion. And of that, we represent about 200 million, about 20% of that business. All right, so here are some of the career opportunities that we have at our company. And again, as a brokerage, sales is a big opportunity for us. We're looking for emerging producers. We need the future of our company. Our company runs on the rails of two things. It's called sales and service. No real magic to that. It's real easy to say that's what you do, but it's actually pretty hard to execute some days. A big part of that is having the right folks on the team. So our sales executives, we look for those folks to bring in the new business. And then we have a variety of folks. Our account executives, they become what I call de facto risk managers. Many of the companies that we represent, they can't afford a risk manager, but as a trusted insurance advisor for them, oftentimes we become their risk manager for them, telling them not just about the insurance program, but about some things that they need to do to think about how to safely manage their operation. And we also have account managers who roll up their shirt sleeves and get busy helping deliver on a lot of these promises that we're making. And then for the most part, the entry-level opportunity for us is what we call an account coordinator, and that's a fancy way of bringing somebody in the door and showing them just about everything under the sun, from checking in the mail, doing photocopies, to hopping on conference calls and having some conversations with some of the richest people in America, because that's who we represent, frankly. And Mallory, I'll turn it over to you if you want to talk about our internship a little bit. That's another option that we have there.
Yeah, so we're beginning to roll out our internship program within our aviation team, and that really kind of is a precursor to that account coordinator position. You get that same level of exposure and mentorship that you would in an account coordinator role, but a little bit reduced to kind of get you on track to begin those first professional development experiences. If you are interested in any of these positions, or with any career at AssuredPartners, did want to point out that you can go to our career site at AssuredPartners.com. Right now, the best way to search for any open jobs is to type in aviation or aerospace. You can also search by location, but if that is something you're actively looking at, those resources are out there. I did want to talk a little bit about our internship program. Assured Partners, as we mentioned at the beginning, is about to become a 10-year-old company. But with that, that means there's a whole lot of potential for growth. So about 3 years ago, we really started investing in our national internship program. We're really excited this year to be hosting around 50 interns across the company. And really that goal is to set them up for, success in their careers, whether that's at Assured Partners or, wherever else they might decide to go. But our program really is about showcasing Assured Partners, all the different experiences and opportunities, while also giving you some working knowledge of insurance and how to be a professional. Some of the program pieces of our internship, we do a basic risk management 101 course. This is kind of divided out into property and casualty as well as employee benefits for where that applies. But completing that course, you do leave with a certificate stating that you now, have that basic knowledge, know that language, and are ready to take your next step in insurance career if that is something that interests you. We also do a cross-departmental idea to implementation project. This partners you with interns across the country so that you can build out your network, propose a business proposal to our senior leadership, and build out those presenting skills that will definitely be needed as you advance in your career. We also take care to expose you to a bunch of different subject matter experts across our company so that you can get to see, what is Assured Partners beyond just that aerospace division. We want to make sure that you understand, our cultural fit and all of the different opportunities in aerospace and outside. And similarly, a big part of what we do at Assured Partners is networking and mentorship. So regardless of where you intern at Assured Partners, you will be surrounded by industry professionals who are invested in building your career. So that's a little bit about our internship program. Definitely, if you have more questions about that, we'll open up at the end, or about any of our opportunities at Assured Partners. So Eric, I don't know if you want to go through the 30,000.
Yeah. So this just real quick, because when I sat in many of your shoes or sat in many of your chairs back in the day, I didn't even know aviation insurance was a thing. I didn't even think about risk management. Didn't even know it was a thing. Wasn't on my radar at all. It was about, it was flying airplanes and fixing airplanes and maybe being an engineer down at NASA. That would be cool. I started in aerospace engineering down there, and after 3 semesters realized I was not smart enough to do that, and I ended up in the business program. So I just wanted to real quick walk you through our industry a little bit, just to give you a little bit of lay of the land, and it may, when I get done, if you're asleep, then mission accomplished. So, all right. To start with the marketplace, there are about 200,000 airplanes in the United States and about 5,000 airports. And of those 5,000 airports, about 500 of them or so have airline service. And when you look at the general aviation premium, as I said before, it's about $1 billion, $1 billion. You add the U.S. airline premium, it's only $300 million, so it's about $1.3 billion. All the premium in the United States is about $1.3 billion. Now let's look at a global scale outside the United States. Let's put it all together on the planet Earth. Planet Earth, the total premium is $3.25 billion. So to me, that's a lot of money unless you start looking at other lines of insurance. For example, if you look at Geico, we're all familiar with the gecko lizard. The one insurance company alone in the United States insures 28 million vehicles. And that one company alone has almost $33.5 billion of premium. So the reason why we point that out is the aviation insurance market worldwide is such a tiny, tiny market. And what happens in our market to the littlest operator can affect the entire marketplace. So we have, unfortunately, in the last 24 to 36 months, really had a run of bad deals. We had let's start at the top there on the left. That's a Pilatus PC-12 that crashed out west in bad weather. I believe it was 12 people fatal on that. We had Dale Earnhardt's airplane, $13 million of damage there. Luckily, nobody was actually injured in that. It could have gone the other way had the airplane rolled on its other side, however, where they couldn't get the door open. The Hawaiian parachutist crash, killed 11 people. King Air goes into a hangar in Addison, Texas, and kills 11 people. So all of these things happen in quick succession. And what does that mean to our industry? Well, when those bad things happen, people get real angry at each other because you're supposed to go from point A to B safely, and these people didn't go from point A to B safely. So what happens is people get that they start suing, and the judgments start coming out. So remember, we're living in the United States in a about a $1 billion industry. One claim was $100 million recently. One claim. That was just one accident, one claim, $100 million. So here's another example that you all are familiar with the unfortunate Southwest Airlines. This was the first fatal accident involving a U.S. flagged carrier since 2006. One fatality. And the airline premium in the United States for just U.S. airlines, again, remember, is about $300 million. So this one fatality resulted in an initial judgment of, in this case, $87 million. Now, is that deserving? If you're that person, you're that person's family, absolutely, and more. But just to give you a look at the dynamics of how small this environment is, and the Saab 2000 that went off the end of the runway late last year up in Alaska, one person was killed. Unfortunately, when the prop came off the airplane, sliced through the fuselage and killed a person. We'll see what the jury says about that claimant. So the point is that it doesn't take a whole lot of movement in this industry with claims to make it a bad day for the underwriters. Let's talk about the big one, and that's the Boeing 737 MAX. So there's a perfect storm that's going here. Not only do we have two accidents in and of itself, which is a big deal. Just if there was nothing else going on, just those two accidents, there were a lot of fatalities. That's a big deal. Well, on top of that, we have the grounding of those airplanes. And those airplanes grounding, a lot of these carriers and Boeing themselves have grounding liability, and it's running the meter just about as fast as you can count. Last projection was about $9 billion and counting on what the implication of that thing is going to be at least for Boeing. So it doesn't, these events right here mean that our market can transition very quick to where we are today, which is a hard market. Not many underwriters. There's only about 14 insurance carriers out there right now in the aviation space, and they can call the shots for the most part if they want to because of the losses that they've had. Here's some other ones. Many of you familiar with the Kobe Bryant loss late last year. Unfortunately, within 2 weeks of that, we were actually in Southern California for the Helicopter Association International's annual convention. It was very sobering. The Sikorsky S-76 that they had on display this year was tucked in the very back of the wall of the hangar of the convention center there. Not a whole lot of fanfare about that one. So that's a painful one as well as all these other ones. Interestingly, some of the people are saying, well, hey, what about COVID? Nobody's flying right now because of COVID. Well, that doesn't mean we're still not having claims. And in this year, if you've been following the news, you've seen some of these tornadoes. Well, the weirdest thing ever is that some of these tornadoes have been a direct hit on some pretty significant airports. And last estimate is about $100 million in infrastructure and aircraft damage at the 4 airports. And so here's the headlines. Aviation rates are going up, and that's the battle that we're fighting. We're trying to educate our clients and let them know what's happening in the marketplace and why their premium is going from $27,000 a year to $39,000 a year. And so we're giving them this context. We're also giving them risk management stories, telling them these are the things that you can do to improve your risk. These are some mitigations that you can put in place so that you get a better premium. So COVID-19, it has had an impact, as you can imagine, as we all know, on our industry, on the nation, on the world, and certainly in aviation. We've put out a resource early on. We put out a resource with AssuredPartners, which they looked at all their industries and had all the AssuredPartners companies put together resources to help us all cope with the COVID-19. One of the things that we just uploaded yesterday was what we call a post-pandemic risk management resource. The reason we did that is for a lot of companies now, hopefully as we come on the other side of the pandemic, everybody wants to get back to business. One of the things that can happen, though, when you've been laying off for a week or a month or 2 months, you can't just jump back in at full speed without there being some consequences. So we just released a risk management resource to help people think through, okay, we might need to do some extra recurrent training. We need to make some prudent steps before we just go back to 110% on the job. So that's kind of a quick overview of our industry. Again, it's not an industry that I knew much about when I was at Embry-Riddle, but it's one, again, 25 plus years later, as I sit here, I can tell you it's a very rewarding career, lots of opportunities for development, and pretty cool. There's a lot worse things we could do. Just to wrap up my piece, and then we'll take some questions if you have any. I don't know if we have the next slide there. Just keep on trucking there, Mallory, real quick.
All right.
Bless my heart, I went to London, yay for me, in November of 2019. One more time there. This is Lloyd's of London. So if you know anything about insurance, or if you've heard it, you've maybe heard of Lloyd's of London. And this is a look at the underwriting floor in November 2019. I can tell you that underwriting floor today doesn't look that way. We actually, some of our placements, we work with Lloyd's and some syndicates in Lloyd's to get some of our placements done. Some of us travel over there occasionally to get some of that done. But the reason why I've got this slide on there, if you'll go one more time, Mallory, for me, is in this showroom, in the center of the Lloyd's trading floor is the Lutein Bell. And what happens at the Lutein Bell is whenever that was a ship that was sunk in 1799, they recovered the bell, they put it back in there. Anytime there's a bad thing that happens, the bell is rung, and it's said to be get really, really quiet in the trading floor, because what happens is if a ship is lost at sea, the bell is rung, and everybody knows, a lot of these syndicates know, wow, I just lost a bunch of money because I'd insured that ship. So I thought it's a very much a piece of insurance history, if you will. And one more slide. For anybody on this call, anybody who's listening to me, that this is my fatherly advice to you, and I love giving advice that people don't ask for. No matter what profession that you land on, no matter what profession it is, and maybe it's not even something that's on your radar today, don't ring the bell. And that's my way of saying don't give up. If you've figured out what it is that you want to do in your life, and aviation is a fantastically rewarding career. It may look a lot different than you think it does right now, and that's okay. Just don't give up. Don't ring the bell. So that's all I got to say, and Mallory and I are happy to take any questions you guys might have.
Yes, so I'm going to unmute our participants here, unless the feedback becomes a problem. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask anything. I had a couple questions for you, Eric. You know, this wasn't a career that you wanted to or thought you were going to go into when you were at Embry-Riddle. What has been the most rewarding part of it that you wouldn't necessarily expect?
Well, okay, that I wouldn't expect. You're a great question. That I wouldn't expect, I think, is that I'm here 25 years later. That's the biggest thing I expect. Because quite honestly, when I first got in it, I was like, just give me a paycheck and I'll figure out what I really want to do that's more cool than this. And then what happened is that as time went by, I was like, you know what? I actually love this career field. It's so cool to think about, you meet so many different people, and you're on the road going to operations, and you're seeing everything. If I worked at an airport, I would see and know airport stuff. In aviation insurance, I go to the airport, I go to the hangars, I go to the manufacturing facilities, I go to all things that touch aviation. And it's really cool to hear the stories and meet the fascinating people that have that they all need insurance. And it's really been cool to meet the people and to touch so much of the industry just by being in this one little lane called insurance.
Yeah. That does sound cool. You did touch on that you get to fly a little bit as a part of your career. How often do you get that opportunity still?
Well, right now I am flying come June 2nd, when we go back to it, I'll be flying every week. The problem is that I'll be in 7A of United and Delta and that kind of thing. Prior to that, I was flying, we flew as part of our business. We still have an airplane here in Columbia. We have a little Cessna 182. I'm just not current in it. I would come to the office, do some work, and then hop in the 182 instead of just hopping in a car to go take somebody to lunch. I'd hop in the 182 and we'd run up maybe within 300, 400 miles, take somebody to lunch, and then be back before sundown and finish up the day at the office.
Wow.
It just seemed like if we're going to be in the aviation insurance business, that we should be aviators. And oftentimes I've said, you need to know more about airplanes than insurance to actually be successful in this career.
That's really cool. I didn't even know that. That's really cool. Are there other aviation insurance career opportunities or career paths besides what AssuredPartners offers?
Yep, absolutely. Great question. So again, we're a brokerage firm, and what that means is that we represent the client to the insurance market. Well, what about this insurance market? When I first started, I was an underwriter for United States Aircraft Insurance Group. So you can be an underwriter and work for the actual company, so that when a guy like me calls you, you would be the one who is saying, hey, our company will write this risk, or we won't write this risk. You can be an underwriter. There's actuarial positions where you can go in and figure out, hey, this is the math behind this business. There's claims adjusters positions where you need folks to go out and adjust the claims. As brokers, we don't actually go out and adjust the claims. We have a claims team that monitors those claims, but the actual carriers have claims adjusters that do it. And then there's a whole host of the usual business function. We have CPAs, accountants, business folks who help run and manage the business on a day-to-day basis.
Cool. Well, that's really all the questions I had. And I don't think any others have come in. Sandy, is there anything you want to add or ask about?
Yeah, actually, I do. I know that, you shared that your aerospace locations were around the country, but I also know that you have location in Lake Mary, which is obviously pretty close to Daytona. Can you tell us a little bit about that location? Obviously, we'd be able to find the opportunities on the website, but I think it'd be a great opportunity to partner close by, maybe during the semesters, when a student could be maybe doing a little bit of part-time work, and then while they're taking classes, and then in the summer do like a full-fledged internship.
Yeah, Mallory, I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, so our Lake Mary office is our headquarters. So most of our corporate team does sit at the Lake Mary location. We also have a retail office there that primarily focuses in property and casualty insurance. There absolutely are going to be opportunities, hopefully as we get more back to normal, to expose and bring students in and let them see what our office and what our culture looks like. Normally our internship program does run, through the summer, or maybe in the at the beginning of the fall or the beginning of the spring, in a part-time way, so that we can get students engaged and then kind of funnel them into their specific, potential interest. So absolutely, we would love to partner and maybe bring some students just to kind of see the office. Jim Henderson, actually, our CEO, does sit out of the corporate office, and I'm sure he would love to welcome and show around Embry-Riddle students.
Our Lake Mary office is cool, but it doesn't have a cool 777 poster in the back in the conference room.
Yeah, I do see that. That's pretty cool. Also, so we have a few alumni on the, they might be recent grads as well, so new alumni on the call today. What would be a good first starting point for those recent graduates that might be looking to give insurance a try? I know you posted a few positions, but specifically with like AssuredPartner, are we probably thinking like that coordinator type of role, or can you jump into, well, you don't do underwriting, so that's not what you do. So yeah, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the good attorney answer. It depends.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Most, for example, let me give you an example for sales. Like, so we are hiring emerging producers, and that can be somebody who is a fresh graduate today. They could be a sales executive maybe within 2 years. And we have different entry points for that kind of a thing. They kind of come in maybe in the account coordinator role. I mean, basically what we do is we try to teach them the business a little bit.
Mhm.
So there's different entry points. We do have those open positions. In fact, at 4 or 5 of our locations, we keep an open posting for a producer because it's a tough job. It's very rewarding. It's a tough job. And we're always looking for the right folks to come in and see if it might be a good fit for them. So there's not 100 entry points, but there's the ones that we shared. And I would encourage anybody who has some interest to go, as Mallory said, to our website and search using aerospace. And I think you'll find about a half dozen positions that are open there. And you can read those job descriptions and see if any of those might be up your alley.
Great. And I did find you, Eric, on LinkedIn. So if there's the students and students and alumni on there, can they reach out to you through LinkedIn?
No. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Because I
no,
just did.
yeah,
I sent you a message and to connect to you too. So
okay. That's good.
great.
I got 2 quick questions, if that's cool.
Oh, hey, Param. Sure.
Hello. So my name is Param Patel. Thank you guys for speaking. This was really good and informal presentation. And my first question is, as a brokerage firm, do clients usually approach you guys, or do you guys usually approach clients?
Yep, good question. It's a mix of both. Primarily, we are going after, we're going on the offensive primarily. What happens though is over time you develop a reputation and people start calling you and say, hey, my friend Joe told me to call you, I'm buying an airplane. And that's exactly what any business would love, is those referrals. So it's a combination of both. For people who are starting out, that's why I said, when I said sales is the tough part, it's because you don't have a reputation. You have to kind of go develop your reputation. AssuredPartners has a great name. Our companies that make us up all have great names. But at the end of the day, a lot of people are saying, hey, I got my insurance from Eric. And so Eric has to go build that repertoire, that rapport with those people, and kind of build that network, if you will.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming you guys mostly work with general aviation aircrafts?
We do. We primarily are in the general aviation space. We do companies that service the airlines, but we don't handle United. We don't handle American and that kind of thing. And the reason is because we're 135 people. If we were to handle the American account, we'd probably have to staff up with about 50 extra people. Well, if American decided, like right now, that things aren't looking so good, or they decide to go to brand X, then we'd have to let a significant amount of people go. We found that our wheelhouse in particular has been the general aviation space, and we do it all. We're starting to do some more aerospace stuff. We have some cool things going on the space side, and we do some regional airlines, but we just don't do the big airlines that you're probably familiar with.
Okay. Thank you so much. I guess my second question is for Ms. Dieter. Did you guys shift or are you planning on shifting your internship program to virtual, or are you still going in person? Because a lot of companies are like going either way. So I want to.
Yeah, so right now our internship program is kind of taking it all into consideration. As mentioned, our internship program is operating in, I think, close to 16 or 17 offices across the country right now. And so every single office is going to have a little bit of a different rollout. So we're following the state recommendations for each state and working with senior leadership to make sure that we bring on employees in a safe manner. With that said, a lot of our programs are starting virtually, and then with the intention that if it's safe to come back in, they'll get to experience, what it's like to be in an office as well. But like I said, virtual probably to start, and then moving into an office environment as we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. Let's see. Nahib,
Nidhi.
Nidhi, sorry.
That's okay.
Doo-doo-doo. Sorry, I'm trying to unmute you so you can ask your question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Mallory. Hi, Eric. My name is Nidhi.
Okay.
So I have a background in finance and business administration. Just in your opinion, what kind of skills are transferable for someone who's probably looking into, insurance or risk management?
Well, attention to detail is huge. It's big because, as we say, we do some teaching about aviation insurance, and we have two words that we use over and over again: details matter, words matter in this business. So at the end of the day, people are getting a piece of paper, or maybe 50 pieces of paper, that says, "We promise to pay you in the event the bad thing happens." Well, if all the words on that paper aren't exactly so, then they could have an accident and it not be covered by insurance. So paying attention to details is huge in our business. The other thing is being able to have what I call bedside manner, be able to interact with people, because frankly, I mean, we do deal with some of the wealthiest people in the country, and they're used to getting what they want when they want. And sometimes we have to be the folks that say, you know what, you're not able to do this because we can't get insurance for that. Here's some options for you. There's, as I said before, we're dealing in a hard market where rates are going up anywhere from 15 to 100%. We had a renewal this month. It was 100% renewal. It takes a certain amount of tact to be able to explain that to a customer who is really about to come through the phone or through the computer and just want to choke you by the neck. So having that ability to work interactively, not only with customers, but also with the team members, because we're a small, tight-knit family, 135 of us across the country. We have to be able to work as a team and not, we try to guard against the lone wolf thing where you're just out there on your own doing your own thing. That doesn't work well for us. So having the ability to do what you do, but then be able to dive in and help other people and work as a team is a big thing. I know it sounds like everybody says that, but I can tell you from firsthand experience that team players are the ones who we go to in this business, not the people who are just, it's all them.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay, I'll unmute you. Hopefully. All right, Alex, I think you're good to go. And
Awesome. Hi, thank you for having this information session. As a recent graduate, what is some of the project or work experience that you would like to see on resumes when applying for entry-level positions?
Well, certainly for us, aviation background is huge. So, working at the airport, for example, I was a ramp rat when I was in high school, worked at the FBO pumping gas. So any kind of aviation experience, that's why we look at Embry-Riddle as a gold mine for us, because you're there because you love aviation. And that kind of experience, regardless of what it actually is helpful, because as I said before, sometimes you have to know more about airplanes and aviation in this business to be successful than insurance. Certainly the ability to translate that, though, to an office environment, because as my former boss's son used to say, hey, I want to be an office worker like you. Going from the ramp and the flight environment, I was a flight instructor for a little while, and going to an office environment, it's a different skill set. And you have to kind of get right about that in your head and have some of that, those core competencies about working within an office environment. Other ones, I'd mentioned having something that demonstrates your ability to work as part of a team, and anything that can demonstrate that eye for detail, because again, that's something that we do see on the people who maybe aren't as successful. Is they're like, I'm not a detail person. Just get it close and we'll move on. And that's really not the business that this is. In fact, if you think about it, aviation isn't a business. As I said, we deal with risk every day. The only way for us to be risk-free is to not do what we do. But it really does take attention to detail to be successful, not just in this career field, but in aviation in general.
All right.
Oh, I guess I'll add one more question.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Barfield, like you, I also fly general aviation, or I fly as a hobby, not as a career. And I was just curious, how do you think your knowledge of being a pilot helps you with clients, like talking to clients, dealing with clients?
Yeah, it's actually huge because one of the things that I mentioned that we have to kind of give bad news sometimes. And so if you're telling a pilot, I'll give you a very good example. If you're telling an airline pilot who has 15,000 hours
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to go fly King Air and he's never stepped foot in a King Air, he's got all his 10,000 hours or whatever in a Boeing 777 like what's behind me. Underwriters actually look at that and go, hold up, no, that's not good enough. I need this guy to go or this person to go to school. I need them to fly 35 hours with somebody who's flown a King Air before. And so being able to have the wherewithal to know that as a pilot, I'm like, that actually makes perfect sense. Because when you go to those people, they're like, those underwriters, they don't, they're just a bunch of pencil pushers. They don't know what they're talking about. We can relate to them as a pilot and we can say, hey, look, I've flown this airplane. I've had an engine failure in my airplane. I know what happens. I've been upside down in airplanes. I speak your language. I know where you're coming from. And here's the reason why what the underwriter's asking is a reasonable thing. So yeah, it's very transferable.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Nidhi has another question.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute her again, but I can read it if it's not. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so you mentioned that you guys are focused on general aviation. Is there a consideration of expansion into commercial aviation perhaps in the future sometime?
Well, never say never, right? So at the moment, we're doing a lot of we've got a lot of irons in the fire. None of them are like we're going to go after Delta at the moment. So that's not on our radar. But an area that we're looking to grow is the aerospace sector. That includes some commercial space type stuff that's going on. It's kind of cool, and also. Government contracting. Government contracting is something that we're already in and looking to do more in, which is considered, in our view, it's considered commercial, but again, it's not Delta, United, and American.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, last call for any questions. All right, well, as mentioned, both myself and Eric are on LinkedIn. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us, connect with us. We're excited about Assured Partners and would love to continue to facilitate conversations about Assured Partners in any way we can. But thank you guys so much for being a part of this webinar, and we look forward to continuing to build our partnership with Embry-Riddle as we move forward.
Absolutely. Good job, everybody. Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you.
Thank you.
All right, I think we are done. Thank you, Sandy, for your help.
You're welcome. Can you stop recording real quick?
Yes.